This is a recording of our playbook. Download the playbook, configuration spreadsheet, and ABAY lab environment from our website. Welcome to our whiteboard drawing, Enterprise 20 Dial Plan Build, Blocking on Lines Class of Service for Delayed 7-Digit Dialing, Part 1. In this drawing, we'll look at the patterns and class of service that Enterprise 20 deploys to restrict external dialing for the patterns where we don't remove the delay for 7-digit dialing. Let's start with a quick overview and review. For an overview of the Enterprise 20 Dial Plan Build, see the drawing Dial Plan Build Overview. For basic concepts, see our whiteboard drawings, Route Patterns Part 1, Route Patterns Part 2, Dial Plan Hierarchy, and Class of Service. Remember our objectives for the dial plan from the discussion in Dial Plan Overview. Everything is good so far with these objectives, but we need to put some restrictions in place. In this drawing, we add class of service to the dial plan deployed in the preceding drawings. The dial plan we deploy supports abbreviated dialing at all sites. This is done. Supports overlapping 7 and 10-digit local dialing with or without post-dial delay. Also done. In this drawing, we don't remove the post-dial delay for 7-digit calls. We'll do that in the next drawing. Supports the following classes of service. This drawing. Internal, local including toll-free, long distance, international, unrestricted, and no 911 versions of the above, and ensures that call forwarding, AAR and CFR, presence, call lists, and mobility all work together as well as possible. There are two approaches to class of service. Line device, or blocking on lines, that's two names for the same thing, and traditional online. We're not really sure what this should be called because it's not really line only. E.164 is a special case we'll look at later. In this drawing, we look at blocking on lines. The line device, or blocking on lines approach to class of service, uses both the calling search space on the device, phones in particular, and the calling search space on the lines. The device gets a site-specific unrestricted calling search space. The line gets a global blocking calling search space. Because the line partitions take priority over the device partitions, we can take away calling privileges by blocking the patterns on the line. We looked at this one, the Cisco BE6000 CVD, and this one, the telephony using Cisco UCM CVD. We are using a modified solution from here. These were available when we developed this drawing. The Cisco validated designs don't use the blocking on lines approach. At Cisco Live 2014 in San Francisco, famous Cisco dial plan guru Johan Krohn said, "Line device is dead." Cisco has removed this approach from the CVDs. Why? The blocking on lines approach has been discussed extensively in SRNDs up to 9.x. Meets the objectives for our dial plan. Many enterprises are using this approach. The CUCM GUI has specific features built in to support and exploit this approach, such as device mobility and secondary calling search spaces. Learning at Cisco has been teaching this approach in CIPT1 and CIPT2 for years now, and still was when we produced this drawing. We'll do separate designs. We're doing blocking on lines now. This approach works very well, and we recommend it if you aren't going all the way to E.164. Using the traditional online alternative without E.164, this design is included in the current Enterprise 20 Dial Plan Build series, but doesn't work out as well as blocking on lines for the Enterprise 20 requirements. And a complete E.164 solution. We'll do this after we've upgraded to 10.5 or higher. Features become available at those releases that help with E.164. Then you'll see exactly what the issues are with each approach. The tables in this drawing are from the delayed 7-digit dialing blocking on lines configuration. We've said it before, everything starts with patterns. If we are going to block patterns on the line, then we need to start with the patterns on the device. Remember the patterns we have if we don't fix the 7-digit dialing delay. Enterprise internal patterns within 8 and 7 digits. Site internal translation patterns to provide abbreviated dialing at individual sites and to translate long-distance off-net calls to on-net. Emergency patterns. The 9.x SRND, Cisco recommends having both 911 and 9.911 patterns. Service codes, 211, 311, 411, and so on. 7-digit local patterns that don't cause post-dial delay for the shorter service codes. 7-digit local patterns with the end of dial indicator pound. 10-digit local patterns, a long-distance pattern. International patterns including international with the end of dial indicator pound, toll-free patterns, and high-risk numbers. In this list, the 7-digit numbers with no end of dial will be delayed when dialed digit by the 10-digit patterns. If you set the T.302 timer down from its default of 15 seconds to 5 seconds, the delay will be only 5 seconds. Including a more specific pattern for toll-free numbers on the device will allow calls to be made to toll-free area codes even if the line is blocking long distance. We'll block a more specific pattern on the line to block high risk. The toll-free pattern on the device is more specific than the long-distance pattern on the line, so the user can make toll-free calls even if the line blocks long distance. The more specific pattern always wins. The high-risk block pattern on the line is more specific than the long-distance or international patterns on the device. So the user cannot make restricted calls even if the device allows long-distance and international calls. The more specific pattern always wins. We won't worry about on-net patterns. These are all internal, and we won't restrict internal calling. Heads up! We moved toll-free to make the drawing easier. Blocking patterns are translation patterns, not route patterns. Each of these translation patterns will have the route option configured with the Block This Pattern radio button selected and the Call Rejected option from the drop-down box. The 911 and 9.911 patterns will have the Urgent checkbox checked. Check these boxes to prevent some cases of post-dial delay. If the user can't dial 7-digit local, they can't dial 10-digit local either. Check this box to prevent some cases of post-dial delay. If the user can't dial international, then you might as well give them a fast busy as soon as possible. Here's a question. Are these patterns needed when the urgent boxes are checked on the patterns without the pound sign? Our best answer is, can these numbers with trailing pounds arrive on block at the CUCM? If they do, will they match the more specific pattern with the trailing pound? We're not sure, but we'll leave these patterns just in case. Check Provide Outside Dial Tone for all patterns that start with a 9. Stay tuned for Enterprise 20 Dial Plan Build, Blocking on Lines Class of Service for Delayed 7-Digit Dialing, Part 2.